Good morning. Good, very early morning from IMEX America in Las Vegas, except I'm not in Las Vegas, but Talia and Michelle. Good morning, ladies. You are up so early for this
It's
stream this morning.
it's
And it's
dark
like day
outside.
4. How are you alive?
We're not. I don't think Bruno is either, but we're not.
I'm not. I'm
It
not.
is,
I
yeah. This is
It's
just a shell
autopilot.
of us, Liz. You just got a shell of us, so that's it. That's all
This
you
is
get
what
today.
Yeah, it's one of the perks of this show. We just come to you as we are. It's been crazy many times before. Today, we're talking about, is IMAX really all that? And this is going to be an interesting conversation since Michelle and Dahlia are literally living it as we speak. I'm kind of, FOMO watching everything from home. I see on my Facebook feed, like flying to Vegas, flying to Vegas, flying to Vegas. I'm like, everyone is leaving New York and everywhere else to be where you guys are. We had some in-person events this week, so I could not join. But I'm curious. I'm like dying to know from your perspective how it's going, what's happening, what am I missing? And then I'm sure we'll cut the shit like we always do and talk about room for improvement, which every event has, right?
Yeah.
hmm hmm
Bruno, you want to start?
So yeah, if I were to categorize IMAX in general, it's definitely a show with a conscience. I think that they take a lot of care in making sure that everyone's happy. Uh, there were several times that people came around to the booth. I don't know if you noticed this, Dahlia, that said, "Is everything okay?" And usually when that happens, it's like the general contractor coming to get money, or someone's like, whatever. But no, there were IMEX staff everywhere. So, and they were kind of checking in on everything. So I think it's just part of being a good host. But the conscience part is that they are very focused on big picture types of ideas, and it manifests in various ways throughout the show. But they're definitely concerned about the planet, the people, humanity in general, and I think those themes come through really loudly in the way that they do things. And the show managers were at the front of the show greeting people,
Yeah.
like the big people, not just the office staff. Like the big people were there to say welcome, and I think they're really happy to see everyone. It shows we felt welcomed and well cared for, and like their ideals aligned with ours. So I think that was a really good thing. Would you agree with that, Dahlia?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, IMAX is one of those show teams where you instantly feel that there's a family effect going on.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get to know you by name, get to know what's going on with you, not only from a professional side as well. And yes, there was a ton of hugs and kisses, and that
Yeah,
is
hugging is
fantastic
back.
for
Hugging,
and
hugging is
you
back.
know
No fist
yeah,
bumping.
and not only from IMAX, as a family, but also from our event profs, our connections, and I think that was relevant, prevalent within the whole show. People were just super excited to meet their old friends, and that hug factor is super high for this show. I think the
Mhm.
other part is with the first timers, and we had hosted Buyer a group for about maybe 13, 15, where we had a lot of first timers at IMAX, and it was interesting to see it from their point of view or from their eyes. Um, but overall, you sense it. You not only see it, but you sense that whole idea of you're in this not only for the business or for the booth that you bought, but you're in this because of the family effect.
Mhm.
Joe says so much FOMO, which I'm obviously feeling as well. Why do these things always happen when I'm securing the money? He says. And I feel like it's always during conference season. This is one of my favorite events every year. I almost never get to go to it. It's like once every 5 years. It's slow enough that I can go. Someone from Facebook is saying they were a first timer. It was a lot to take in, but also good to be back with the community. We'd
Yes.
love to know who you are. Thanks for commenting. And we'd love to know more about what that experience is like. I mean, IMEX America is a huge event.
Oh,
Huge.
it's zoo, and actually this was their biggest yet.
Wow.
So and so that whole comment, hi Sean. So Sean was a first timer and part of our group, but for those where it was their first time, and I have to say also for those that have been there before, it was just super overwhelming. And that there's beauty and there's not so beautiful things about being overwhelmed, because of size, because of all the attractions. The destinations did an amazing job of just becoming like art palettes, basically. Like you look at Mexico and you look at like all the countries and their booths and what's going on in there, and the activities that they had and the music and stuff like that. It was, I think for some, it was a holy shit moment. And the walking, you do not take IMAX lightly. Like, like not even your Apple Watch will just hate you in the middle of the day, not even at the end of the day, really. But it is very overwhelming for some. So I think there needs to be Sherpas of some kind for shows like this, truly, where you are able to be the guides for first timers or neurodivergent people that are not able to, sustain the feeling of that, bright lights, ton of people. Where do I hide? I mean, Bruno, you knew where they were hiding. Like, you can share that part. But it's like for shows like this, I think going forward, something to consider from show management is to have like human Sherpas that can guide either first timers, or if you see people that are like not knowing what is happening, like creating these pockets of safe areas or like quiet areas. Or I honestly think nap pods is a sponsorship opportunity for the future going forward. So
is there any kind of, you guys would know this, is there any kind of like pre-event virtual prep for first timers or for people who have been before and just felt overwhelmed? Like, could you go online a week before and they tell you, look for the booths that you want to connect with, make some meetings, schedule your day. This is a lot of walking. Is there any kind of prep like that? Or is it just kind of like, good luck? I know the first time I went, it was just good luck to you, but that could be that I missed something.
I think it's such a, the form factor itself is pretty familiar. I mean, I think it may have been a first time to go to IMEX, but I would imagine that anyone in this business has attended, a show like that before. But yeah, definitely I made a little note that, like tennis shoes are the new dress shoes, because there was just, everybody was wearing, comfortable Nikes or whatever, instead of, you didn't see that many heels anymore. So,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. Yeah, I didn't see any kind of quiet areas, but maybe there were some. Did you notice anything? And Mandalay Bay is connected to, a hotel. So if you had a room in Mandalay or Luxor, you could go back to your room. But then the other thing about, IMEX is it's a hosted buyer situation.
Mhm.
So you have sort of built-in visits to your booth if you're, in that program. And that is good in that, exhibitors are guaranteed visits, but it's, I don't know, I think burdensome too for the attendees who are in the program to like rush to all the booths and And I know that a lot of them seemed harried because they're on a schedule. So that it's a great thing overall, but also something that adds a little bit of a dimension of pressure, I think, to some attendees that are in that program. So, yeah. What else, Dahlia?
So, so going back to whether there was a pre-event webinar, I know for a fact that the hosted buyer team that helps you set up your portal and your appointments and everything, they're very hands-on to a point where like
Mhm.
I don't know how they do it, where they know all 3,000 hosted buyers. The hosted buyer lounge was, set up for that quiet space or to like catch up or to FaceTime family, etc. What I would recommend is setting the expectations, especially for first timers. So setting the expectations in the sense of
Mhm.
you're going to do a lot of walking. You're going
Mhm.
to have appointments that are going to be, from one side of the hall to another. Here's a way where you can like manage your journeys within the show floor, and you don't have to do back to back. So I think that kind of guidelines, exist as in the portal for a hosted buyer or even for attendees that are not hosted buyers. So, you have a lot of
Mhm.
attendees that are just walking the show floor and they're just walking to what they're gravitating to. Like, I want to check out these destinations, these hotels, these services, these tech companies, for example. But I do think that the expectations have to be set in like, this is going to be a very big show, and I think
Mhm.
that while setting those expectations, and maybe it's done in a way where it's an example. So if you get overwhelmed by, loud noises, etc., just take a few spots within your day and then hang out at the back of the show floor, or go hang out in the nook pods in, Dahlia's corner, for example. So like really there was also a place where you had the Zen space units where once you close those doors it's soundproof. Then you had the nook pods, which were sponsored by Detroit, where it was like a little village. So I think it's by, identifying where those areas are, um, as well as just setting the expectation that, oh yeah, your feet are going to hate you. Or you know what? You probably will go the whole day without going to the bathroom or eating anything, because that's what happened to Bruno and me for the last couple of days. So I think
Mhm.
setting those expectations and bringing humor to it, it's not super overwhelming when they come on a show floor. And we're not this is all about IMAX, but
Yeah.
IMAX is also a playground where event profs steal ideas. And then they take them and they say, oh, I need to steal this to do for my shows, or I do something different for my event. So, like, this is why, we're using this as an example because we're here, but it's also because it is the guidebook for a lot of event professionals that come in for their own events.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Encore.
Let's talk about Encore because Bruno had a holy shit moment.
Yeah. So I'll just set the stage and then Dahlia, you can talk about what happened inside, or do you want to set the stage and I'll talk about what happened inside?
So here's the kicker. I have been keeping this Encore activation, this immersive activation that I've been, hearing about. This is my FOMO, Liz, all right? Because I have not done it yet. Anthony Vade and Amanda Armstrong from Encore, and they're the brains behind the whole thing, have come. Are you coming? Are you going to do it? Are you what? And I've been hearing everybody just rave about
Yeah.
it. And I love just hearing about the experience from everybody else. So I'm setting the stage that this was behind black curtains. It was like the talk of the show, if you will. and it was way back in a corner. And it was 30-minute tours, and everybody had like these chips and so forth. And they just were like proud that like they are in line. It was almost like going to Disney. And it was like, I'm going for the break free encore, experience, this and that. So I had FOMO, and I was just like maybe 25 steps away from it. So, but Bruno went in. So Bruno, you can take this one.
Yeah, so the first moment that I showed up to the booth on the first day, people in our booth were saying, "Did you go see the encore thing? You've got to see the encore thing. It's just, it's right up your alley kind of thing." So I went through, and you sign in, they scan your badge, and they give you an iPad, and they do the experiences every half hour on the half hour. So it is kind of a Disneyland sort of thing. It's not just people moving through on their own. You go in groups, and you're asked to select a buddy, so you're immediately into a networking situation with someone you probably don't already know if you're walked up by yourself, which I walked in by myself. And so they kind of prepare you while you're standing in line with the iPad for what's going to happen. And you go into, like, it's a series of 3 kind of rooms. You go into the first room, and it's all dark, but there are, let's say, visual vignettes of videos playing, and the theme is sustainability. So one of the videos might be just, bag after bag of garbage being dumped, on a beach or something. And another one is, it's all scenes of really the sort of degradation and, you know, basically downside of not being sustainable. And then they ask you and your buddy to go to whichever video vignette you like. You use your iPad to scan the code, and it serves up questions, which are something that you're supposed to talk about with your buddy. So it's, questions like, how would you do this better? Or they're provocative, make you think and make you sort of discuss. And to tell you the truth, my buddy and I had never met, and I didn't even read the question. I was so like jarred by the experience, like being in this room of, like, literally you feel as if the world is crumbling from a sustainability standpoint. Every scene is just really provocative and shocking. So it's like, I don't know what the questions were, but we immediately turned to each other and just started, like, going at it and talking about, sustainable experiences and how we could do this whole, trade show thing better. And we were just going at it. And then we didn't even have time, because we were so engaged in conversation, to go to more than 2. Like, it was like, well, we better go to another one, but then again, it serves up questions, and we didn't even do the questions. We were just talking back and forth. So that whole thing was, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or so. So after that, then sort of these curtains open, and you go into another experience, and it's a giant LED wall. And then there's also smoke machines that rise up, and so the whole area is like you're standing in something from a Sherlock Holmes, Hounds of the Baskervilles movie, where it's in the moors, and it's all just misty. And the giant LED screen just plays this video that's kind of like, of like, we have to do something kind of video. And again, I don't even remember like the details of the video, because I was so taken by the feelings and emotions of the experience. And then, so that plays for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. And there was a human being sort of introducing that large video and saying something along the lines of, well, are you ready to think differently? Are you ready to be, to change the way that you look at sustainability, as a topic? And then the third one just sort of opened up to a regular room where, people from Encore were there to answer questions and things like that. But I thought, first, that is the most amazing sales tool for Encore I have ever seen. in over 30 years. But number two, this is also it was an opportunity that IMEX took with Encore to raise awareness around a crucial theme, that we should be addressing. And they gave them space and gave them time. And I don't know if they gave them resources. I don't think so, to do this. But that was the second thought I had. And then the third one was like, we have got to change the way that these events are done. They are not sustainable, and everything in the room, all the screens, they used drapes. There was no hard wall, everything. There was not a shred of paper. Everything was reusable. So they ate their own dog food. So, they created emotion. It was really, really, if I could take away one thing that changed me more as a human being, it was that Encore experience. So you got to go through it today and tell me how you feel, Dahlia.
Okay.
I love the idea of using space to take people through a journey. And I remember Dahlia and I went to the Long Beach Convention Center opening years ago. And it was a similar thing where the room kind of kept opening and then something else was happening and people would fill it up and then the room would open more. And we're like, what is happening? And they had all kinds of entertainment and it wasn't about sustainability and there wasn't necessarily the same kind of storyline. But I have used that example so many times of like most well thought out event. Because, I mean, what do we have? We have the space. It's such a smart way of making people think. It sounds so emotional. I wonder when you came out of there, did you look at this massive event? Like, what were your thoughts about the event you were at where you're seeing this experience? Because, I mean,
yeah, and in
kind
some
of like
ways,
evoke all these emotions and then.
Yeah, I know that all the booth materials are reusable. So I was comforted in that.
Sure.
But I also, I know that there's a lot of waste still, and the idea of having giant events becomes somewhat unappealing, from that perspective, because it's not only sustainable from, waste perspective in some ways, although IMEX does an excellent job minimizing that, but it's almost not sustainable from a human, participation standpoint, as we've discussed. I mean, it's a very grueling experience from that standpoint. But what it made me think about is, Dahlia will concur with this. We were in the tech area. There's a little tech hub, and then everything around us was all the technology companies. By far, the majority were virtual event platforms. And it's, again, it made me return to this feeling that, we can't just have events without this kind of keep people engaged. It's not necessarily about the tools. It's not about the topics. It's got to be these sorts of big, immersive kinds of experiences. I think that's got to be the direction that the virtual platforms take us in order for us to take the value away as participants in terms of the knowledge and the understanding, even the networking. I mean, I was inside this thing and just turned to a total stranger, as one does, and just like talked his head off. He probably was like running for the doors after it was done. And I'm an introvert. I was just like, what do you think? What are we going to do? It's like, I was like organizing people, I think inside the experience, like, let's go, get your pitchforks. We're out of here. So.
Well, I mean, so the way I'm thinking of like how the trade shows and how we're doing things differently is, yes, this whole immersive experience teaches us lessons. It is about a huge topic that not everybody knows how to wrap their head around. Like sustainability, we've been talking about that for like eons, basically. It's going to be the same thing when we talk about, designing events for neurodivergent people. And, you will have to have immersive experiences or immersive areas in order to showcase what that feels like, what that looks like, and what the results are. And I think for any show, you really have to take a look at what are the really hard conversations or topics you want to tackle within your industry and figure out a creative immersive way of having people have that conversation or helping you with that initiative. So we were in the tech area and everybody had their kick-ass teams doing all, the demos and this and that. In my head, I was like, why is there no like test drive stations? Why did nobody like just set up a couple of, monitors or like computers where planners that did not want to talk to anybody. Yes, you can scan my badge, which is still right here in a very uncomfortable place to be scanned, and then say, oh, do you want to like experience this on your own? Have at it. Because that's the type of immersive experience that you can have from a tech perspective. The countries, the destinations did a great job of like, there were areas within their pavilions where you can go view like a beautiful video or something like that. There was obviously a ton of reps that can help you out, but I don't know if it's evolving in a way where if I want to be immersed in a destination or in a solution or to see what that would look like for me, I would want to experience it on my own. Then catch me on the flip side. Catch me in the end of the experience and sell me something if you can, kind of thing. But
Dahlia,
I think,
have the best idea.
Here we go. And then I have a question
I have the best
for
idea.
Liz, actually, but you go first.
Okay, so instead of a pitch competition, let's just get a whole bunch of planners that know those platforms and have them compete against, each other. Who can like set up an event the fastest in
or build registration the fastest,
Popcard and whatever, and let the platforms compete that way. Let users. It'd be like a giant, like a Twitch thing too, where there's a narrator and people are on there like instead of playing games, they're doing.
I love software. It's done.
I would
We're
love
gonna
to
do it.
In something like that.
No, I mean, but overall, like this is the type of show where you come and you have your holy shit moments, or you have your moments where you're like, you know what? It's not sustainable to be walking around for 10 hours and not finding a nap pod and not finding, a place where you can just chill. And this is the questions that I think that you just need to answer. My question to you, Liz, though, because you weren't able to come with us, that means you're going to have to come with us to Frankfurt, because that's in April or May, so we can make that happen.
It is an easier time, yes.
Yeah, but when you say you had FOMO and you were like looking at all of the pictures and the, reels and in the middle of the night where people were at like secret bars, all of it, what were you thinking, or like what created the FOMO the most for you for IMEX?
People. It's always the people. That's for me. IMEX has always been about the people. And, I'm sure they wouldn't love to hear this, but I always say, go on your own dime. Don't worry about the hosted buyer thing. Fly yourself there, make 1 billion appointments to meet with the people that you love in the industry the most. I almost never, I go on the floor to be in awe. I've never really had the IMEX experience of like 20,000 miles walked, I have always been like super purposeful when I'm there. I usually park at a coffee shop in the hotel or something, rotate a bunch of meetings, and it is inspiring to me. To your point, I think every event, IMEX does a really good job of trying new things, putting things out there. There's still every time a planner looks at any event, you're going to be like, well, they should have done this and they could have done this. But even those are learning moments. So I've always come from IMEX with the relationships and great ideas. And I think that it is the relationship piece that you're seeing like, oh my gosh, they get to hug and like, she's there. Shoot, I didn't know I was going to miss seeing her. So that part sucks. You guys know I'm still like super COVID sensitive. So I'm all kind of like, you guys can enjoy your hugs. It's like FOMO to a point for me. Like, I'll wave to you on the next Zoom call or something. But it's the people. I think that's one thing that IMEX has always done really well, is that pretty much everyone is there. And so it's really nice to see everyone.
Yeah, there's one more theme too. I mean, Dahlia, you touched on the neurodiversion and stuff like that, but Dahlia and I went to a press conference about, groups really trying to, walk the walk around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. That's like a new DEIB now. And I think it's out of the closet, wouldn't you say, Dahlia? I mean, it's really a mainstream topic that a lot of people, a lot of big companies are really interested in. And one thing that stood out was, the reason that the companies are interested in it is because they feel that there's a huge pool of talent that's being untapped, that are people that don't feel comfortable in these sorts of situations. And as planners, they want, us as a community to understand those differences, to make inviting spaces and benefit in many, many ways by having that many more people with, talents and gifts that we're overlooking. And I thought that was, first of all, an amazing project. It's called the NEU project. And also just the fact that, again, IMEX is on board with those types of initiatives, makes space for that, is all in on supporting projects like that. And I think that's at least a next level dimension of organizing events going forward, and an important and moving thing for me to experience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the new project, so it's actually new, neuproject.com. And this is spearheaded by Megan at Google. You have the ELX is also involved with it. And you're going to see this as an initiative going forward. The DEIB, as Bruno and I just, we saw that yesterday. So it's DEIB as in belonging. And I think that everybody should be looking on how to do that for their own companies, but also for their own events, as well as helping the clients out. So like if you are a planner or meeting management company, that should be the forefront, because that has to be woven into the design of any type of event, even a virtual event. So that I think that initiative is something that everybody's going to have to like take it on sooner rather than later, or else you're going to lose potential new audiences, younger generation, those that are even adults that are coming and saying, I'm neurodivergent, I'm dyslexic, I have anxiety, I am this, I am that. And we saw people actually sharing that information at IMEX this year more than I've seen it before. So but overall, IMEX it's kicking my ass, I should say, right? Because the sleep factor is gone. And,
and last night, the big party last night was sold out. So how many thousands of people at Dre's are going to be dragging their butts in today? I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, to go through the whole thing during the day and then go party starting at 10 o'clock till like 1 a.m.
I could not do that. I was like, 5 o'clock. Peace out, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Exactly.
No, I mean, but this is where I think the entertainment is also going to take different paths, where it's like you want to end up with a bunch of close friends or new friends that you made and then go sit somewhere. That's what we did yesterday. But that whole sense of belonging, that's where you have to figure out how to put those pods within a show floor, and how to have the Sherpas facilitate it and then introduce you to people. You need that. That's what gives you FOMO. Like that's what, a show really should work on, overall. And it takes the right energy. So it was so funny because everybody's here trying to figure out how to charge their phones. I think they're trying to figure out how to charge themselves. The battery, the social battery is a big deal. So, and alcohol does not cut it. Although yesterday, Webex had an amazing nitro ice cream little thing, and it had bourbon buttercup. And I did not tell Bruno what was in the ice cream that I gave her. And then But man, oh man, that was a nice perk, like in the middle of the day.
Yeah,
sounds
that was the
amazing.
best food, was going around place to place. But it was, it's like ice cream on top of your potato chips, and then you go have a cup of free coffee and a little, it was like Trader Joe's, really.
Yeah, it
Go from
was.
place to place.
So
Well, it
Yeah,
looks
anyway,
like the sun is up where you are now. Is that right, Dahlia? I think I see it
I don't
peeking
know.
through.
yes, you are right.
The
Now I can
day
go
has
get my
begun.
coffee or go back to bed. I don't know which one.
Oh, yeah.
I know
Now
you have a
we
long
got to
day.
get down there before the Starbucks line. I'm not kidding you.
It's,
In the morning is like a half hour minimum.
They need
wait.
like 10 times more Starbucks than they
I
have
mean,
right
the unsung heroes here are the baristas. I'm telling
Yeah.
you right now.
Yeah.
And the waitresses and the waiters of these restaurants, like, we are not a fun crowd to be at if we're cranky or, like, hungover or hungry. Like, we are the worst of the worst. So I want to just say thank you to all of Las Vegas for
I was
dealing with
even
us
saying
right now.
thank you to the bathroom attendant. I was just like, sorry. Thank you. Thank you for I said it looks so tidy. She's like, yeah.
But next time, Liz, you have to come with us. We're gonna drag you.
You might have to drag me, but
I will.
to see you
We'll
ladies, I
bring
would definitely do it.
babysitters. We'll bring people to entertain
No,
your.
you just bring the
There's
family.
the other
Bring the
thousands of
fam.
other people that I have a problem. Yeah, the kids, no
Yep.
problem. They can come.
Yeah, bring the
Yeah.
family. They stay around the pool, and we do what we do.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Can't wait to see
Okay.
you ladies in person again.
We'll see you next year.
Oh, yes. Next year for sure. All right, ladies, thanks for sharing your entire experience with us. Now my FOMO is ramped up even more, but I know you have a super busy day. Thanks to all who are watching and participated. Clearly, IMEX is doing their job, because there were some great comments about the WhatsApp chats that you all had and things like that. So that's great. Please continue to join us, follow us, share your ideas. If you want to join us on the show, if you want us to talk about something, dahliaplus.com/QTheGenius. And we'll be back next week with another great episode. Thanks, ladies. Enjoy. Tell everyone I said hi.
I will.
Well.